at UNC? You guys ever talk about that stuff?
In terms of,
Just hey, bro.
oh, you know, I tell it's a great story because my wife works in Wake Forest, and so we live in that area, and so we're going to Wake Forest events quite a bit, and invariably someone will figure out or hear that I went to Carolina and played for Coach Smith, and I try to not tell them how bad they were during my 4 years. Try to have something positive. But the positive is that my mom and dad and my brother, because we grew up there, they were huge Wake Forest fans. And so when Coach Smith and Coach Guthridge came to my house to recruit me, Coach Smith would go around to mom, dad, and then get my brother, and just kind of trying to know more about them. And so he gets to my brother and says, "Oh, who's Richard's favorite team?" So my mom turned to my brother and said, "Coach wants to know who your favorite team is." And my brother stood up, came over and got Coach Smith's face and said, "Wake Forest, Wake Forest," like that. And Coach Smith kind of came back a little bit, but he received it very well. And he said, "Well, maybe over the next 4 years we can get him to like Carolina a little bit."
What's the signal for UNC?
Just UNC. And so my brother did wear some light blue for 4 years, but as soon as I stopped playing, he was back to black and gold.
Let's talk about another player from Chatham County, Jarin Stevenson. Played 2 years in Alabama. When they came to play UNC, Alabama beat UNC, and now he's come back, quote unquote, home, and he's been playing there. What have you seen from him? From again, same question as about Drake, from going from high school to where he is now in college.
I saw him play in high school, and he has definitely gotten more physical. He's matured with his body, weight room, working out. But he is just a complete basketball player. I like the fact that he is versatile. He rebounds, he plays defense, he can stretch the floor. Even as a big guy, he can shoot it. And so we're very, very fortunate to have him. He's doing a great job, and tell him to keep shooting.
What do you feel about him? And then it's interesting because sometimes when he posts that stuff on the Chatham Journal, folks are saying, "Hey, he's playing too much," but he plays over 30 minutes a game, and isn't he would keep it in there partly because of his defensive skill?
I think defense, rebounding, and just being he's a better shooting George Lynch. And I think that's what
George, he said that.
No, George could shoot it, but he couldn't stretch it. Jarin can stretch it. He can go out and be beyond the 3-point line, and has a really, really nice stroke. 30 minutes is probably not enough. He probably needs to be playing a little bit more than that. But at the college game, you're going to get worn out. So, 32 minutes is a big load each night.
In the last two games, this last game he had 12 points. The game before that, he had 16. Before that, he was usually shooting under 10. What's he need to do to keep shooting that well?
Shoot more.
Okay.
Yeah. He needs to have the philosophy that if he has the ball across half court, jack it.
Wait, hang on.
Do you disagree with that?
No, I don't disagree with that.
Okay.
I would say that I have probably sat with Jeff at 50 games, and every single one of them, some guard crosses half court, Jeff's yelling shoot. And that may be because he played guard and thought everybody should shoot more. So
it's one of those things that now that I am 58 years old and 36 years removed from playing, my one regret, and I shot it, but I didn't shoot it enough.
Did Dean say, "Son, you should have shot more"?
No, he never said that, but I would like to have given him the opportunity to say, "You need to stop shooting."
Yeah.
What was the best life advice Steve Smith ever gave you?
He gave us life advice every day, and it wasn't any one particular thing, but he wanted us to be good teammates. He wanted us to be good students, good role models, be great sons, be great husbands one day, be great fathers one day. And I think that the beauty of Coach Smith is that we all strive to do those things from his leadership, but it happened over a period of 3 to 4 years or longer, and I think that's one of the downsides of kids today and the way that college is structured is they try to get too much too fast, and they're missing out on a lot of the life lessons that college and college athletics provides for young people.
Well, it seems to me, when I watch college players and see what you think of this, I remember another Jeff story from Red League ball. We had a kid on our team who was, and I think he went on to play defensive back at Florida State. But this kid was fast, he was skilled, he could do it all. And he could do everything except what Jeff told him. And so in rec,
He was on your rec league.
yeah.
He was one of our players, yes.
And in rec league, you have to play half the game. So the only way you can teach a kid is benching, especially this kid. And so what Jeff did was Jeff stood on the sideline and made the kid stand in bounds right beside him. We played 4-on-5 while this kid stood with Jeff, and he was explaining, I can't bench you, but I can leave you right there. But this kid's father didn't complain about that one tiny little bit. You know, the kid's father, wasn't he a coach?
His father was a football coach at Carolina.
Okay.
Not only that, I still talk to that dad twice a year. We'll text each other at Thanksgiving, we'll text each other at Christmas.
Okay.
And he'll ask how we're doing. Tanner's a kid's name.
Okay.
Great kid. Turned out to be a really good athlete. But the dad was accepting of coaching, and the kid turned out to be accepting of coaching. And you know, it only took one game to do that, but from then on, I didn't have to worry about it. He did what he was supposed to do.
And but these college coaches now, whereas Coach Smith, I mean, I remember players who he wouldn't let do things. I remember like with Sam Perkins, he made him post up. You would watch and Perkins would want to be out there shooting threes, which he could do very well, but Coach wouldn't let him and would bench him when he chucked a three when he wasn't supposed to chuck a three.
Even if he made it?
It didn't matter.
He didn't do what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, but now you get a kid, and if you bench him, he's leaving and going somewhere else.
Right.
If you don't bench him, he's not helping the team. And coaches are limited into how much discipline they can give their kids.
Yeah.
And make them do stuff you want to do. And so one of the things across the board for me watching college ball is you don't see a kid, Seth Trimble excluded, who comes to Duke or Carolina or State and starts out as this one player and then 2 years later develops into something else, because if they're not happy, they leave.
Well, when you watch TV right now, I mean, I remember it used to be pretty shocking. The announcer would make a comment. He'd say, look, he's at Miami, but he was at Georgia last year.
Right.
And that was like a big deal. They literally say it's common in basketball and football to say the last two schools they played at
Right.
before they played at this school.
Right.
It's crazy now.
And anyway,
I think the one thing I'll add to what you were saying, Greg, is that at the end of the day, I think that athletes still want to be coached. I think that deep down, they want to be coached. They want to be challenged. They want to get better. They want to be part of a team. They want to have all the things that, the reason we play sports. They still want that. They still crave that. The problem is the parents don't want their kids to be coached. That is, I think, 90% of all this stuff going on. Hey, we got to leave here. We got to go over here. I don't think the kid would want to do that.
And you know, you say that, and one of the things that I was thinking about as you were saying it is, I don't know that I've ever seen Caleb Wilson's parents. I don't know that I've seen them on TV. I certainly don't hear about them exerting influence. And when I'm watching Carolina play, of the top 7 or 8 players, there's 3 or 4 that when coach is talking, their eyes are like this, and Caleb's one of them.
That's as a coach, that's like the best thing in the world. When you can see all their eyes on you, and you know you got buy-in, and you know that team's gonna be fine.
But there's a few of them who are just not paying attention.
They're fixing their shorts, they're fixing their legs.
Or they're one that looks at their parents.
Yeah.
And I just, that you.
You made spam. I thought you turned it off.
I thought it did too.
But anyhow, I just, I think the inability to bench and parents getting in the way are having it so that kids don't develop. But Seth Trimble's developed a lot at Carolina and become a much better player. R.J. Davis became a much better player in his 13 years at Carolina. However,
I got a question for all three of you. I've never done it because I just enjoy taking pictures too much to be able to do it. Why did you coach?
That's a great question. I love sports. So not only did I coach basketball, but I coached, it was East Chatham baseball. Yeah. Eric Montross and I coached East Chatham baseball with our two boys. I helped with the football program, the Chargers over here at Northwood. I just enjoy sports. I enjoy kids, and I wanted to give back the same things that my dad did for me when I was coming up. It was a way to stay connected to young people, young minds, and sports. I could have gone the college coaching route, but that was not something that I wanted to do. I didn't want to do the recruiting, some of the not so fun things about college coaching. But I did want to stay involved and loved the community, loved our what we had here in Chatham County. Had a blast doing it, and we'll do it again. You ready to revive our coaching?
No. No, it's not.
Well, why'd you coach?
No.
You got
Well,
that question covered.
I got started coaching because we signed up for Chatham County Rec League basketball, and it was, I guess it's 4, 5, 6-year-olds. You know, the first
Five,
thing.
6.
Okay.
Yeah, 5,
So
6.
it's 5, 6 basketball, and we sign up, and we go to the first practice, and they don't have a coach. There was no coach for the team. So I ended up volunteering, and so I coached that first team. What's funny is I had a coup, meaning that a bunch of parents went to the rec league to get me fired. But the complaint was that I was throwing the ball to my daughter all the time, which is true. But at that time, my daughter was the only girl on the team who could actually put the ball in the basket. None of the rest were strong enough. 5-year-old, and we were largely 5-year-olds. Boys and girls struggle to, they've lowered the goal and they struggle to get the ball up there at all. There is no touch. It's not like they're shooting, they're like heaving it. And Cassie was the only one who could actually score. So instead of losing 9-2, we lost 9-0, right? Every game. And so
That actually is a good point, because I don't know if you remember, we actually had a rule with our kids when we were coaching, especially the boys, but the girls too, that we were not allowed to shoot 3-pointers. And I don't know at what age we stopped coaching, maybe 14, but we still had a rule that no 3-pointers. And the reason being is these kids were still, shooting from the hip. Even it wasn't a shot. And they're like, no, just shoot what you're capable of shooting in a regular shot. And as you get older, and as you get stronger, you'll be able to go farther out. That way, your mechanics, your form, everything is going to be like it needs to be. If you learn how to shoot it here, then you're going to have to adjust later, and that's not the right sequence to do that.
And I'm going to suck up to him on one thing about a team. In rec league, yeah, I know. But in rec league, you start and you're picking, and then there's always a kid or two at the bottom who are younger or less skilled, or for whatever reason, their parents want them there. They don't want to be
First year
there.
they're playing.
Right. And they're miserable.
Right.
And so on this 9-10-year-old team that we had the kids on, we had a kid who was in that position. And Jeff did something that was amazing. He made that kid part of the team. And he made the kid a part of a team in a way that people didn't think about. And I remember he would set up this play that went to the kid, and the kid's about 15 feet from the basket. He goes, okay, this is the play. The ball's going to you. They're not guarding you. You're going to shoot it, right? And then he stacks up everybody else on the far side of the basket so that when the kid misses, they can get get the rebound, score. Well, the first time we went through this, the kid doesn't shoot, and he dog cusses that kid.
You got one job.
Yeah, he's like, you got one job. You're gonna shoot that ball, and by God, you're gonna shoot that, and so from then on, the kid's terrified. As soon as, but by the end of the year, the kid was hitting the shot.
He had where he could make that shot.
He couldn't do much else, but from that one spot, he would hit his shot. And what was so important about that is our 10th man, one, felt valuable because he was.
Right.
Two, had to be guarded. You couldn't leave him alone, because if you did, he was going to hit a 12 or 15-foot shot. And so the whole thing worked out, and that's something I'd never thought of. And then as I went on to coach later without him, I stole his stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I stole his
That's
material.
the highest compliment, Coach.
Yeah.
It really is.
So why did you coach?
It was like what Jeff said. It was payback. I had great high school coaches. I grew up super poor. Football got me out of that town, got me into college, and everything I had was because of that. So it's payback. And I mean, coaches are needed or whatever, but you get so much back that you get from it and everything. I mean, you talked about texts on Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I still get them from former players, and it's just awesome. It's great.
And that's why I need freaking grandkids. Because if you coach rec and you don't have a kid on the team, everyone's looking at you like there's a problem.
And I'll come back and say that not only the joy that we get of coaching and giving back, we had some good teams that Greg and I coached. We also had some teams that weren't very good. And we probably got more out of those teams than the ones that we did well record-wise. And I look back on the teams that I played on when I was a little kid coming up. I don't know that I remember winning too much until I got to middle school and high school. So those lessons and that drive started back here when we were 2-10 and 4-8. They didn't happen because we were 14-0. And so those are things that can happen through youth sports and good coaching and just creating that drive. We did okay, but I want to do a little bit better.
My favorite lesson from as a player and a coach is our most talented teams weren't our best teams. Our best teams were the ones that played together as a team. And if you can carry that out throughout life and some other aspects of your life, I mean, you don't have to be talented. You have to come together. You have to have each other's back. And you learn those things from coaching. It's amazing. Yeah.
So when a parent came to you and complained that their son wasn't playing enough, what would you say?
Well, you know what I said the one time.
I know.
That was bad. That was bad. I had two parents call me into the principal, athletic director, and the football coach. They said, I just want to know, why is my kid third string? I said, because we don't have a fourth string.
Whoa.
That was bad.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Is that kid okay now? Has he gotten over it?
He is.